Hey guys, so for today's video I decided to do an update on one of my most viewed plant videos and most commented plant video. So here I have my beautiful coffee plant, and when I did that video, I'll see if I can link it in the description down below. When I did that video, I had probably had this plant for about a month, and I bought it without knowing how to care for it. I just saw it and it was just absolutely beautiful. The markings, it was cute. It was in this like 6-inch pot. Actually no, 5-inch pot. It came with this nice glazed cover pot. I was like, I'm going to buy it. So I bought it at Trader Joe's. And it was going really good. I was checking at the bottom of the pot to see if, there were no massive roots growing out. And at that point, there weren't. But about like a couple weeks later, I did see roots grow out. Not a whole lot, but again, for me, since I was starting, I felt like this plant needs to be repotted. And I did. I went ahead and I repotted it, and I actually ended up putting in, let me show you, in that gray pot right there. As you can see, my really healthy, ginormous fern is in there. So that was just a little too big. For height-wise, it was fine. Width-wise, it was way too big. So that was my first mistake. I think repotting it was fine, but it should have not been put into that big of a pot. I also read that this plant liked to be kept moist, so I thought, okay, it's not dry, so it has to be watered often. So more soil than the roots needed. Wetting it on top of that, it was just a home for, soggy, and a way to bacteria to form. And especially since at that time it was like fall, and my house, I don't have a humidifier, and my house can get, stale. And I think at that time when I made the video, I was wearing a fleece PJ. So fleece sweater, I don't know, and it must have been like winter, so I didn't have the windows open, so that whole environment and my door, I kept that plant in my room, which the door doesn't really get open that often, so it was just not a good airflow, air circulation going on in there. And that is what I think I pretty much know created the black spots on the leaves. A few people I think one person commented saying I should use like some horticultural soap, like one of those products, because it could be fungal. So I said, okay, before I go ahead and buy anything, let me see if I can do it on my own, right? Now, all the comments were people saying they just got this plant. Thank you for letting me know something I need to keep my eye on. And then one or two other people were like, yes, I am going to do the same thing. What did I do? And honestly, really simple. So I ended up removing that plant and putting it back into its original pot. And let me tell you, their roots grow really fast, and I think that is pretty tricky, especially for beginners, because if you see a lot of roots grow, you automatically think that they need to be up-potted. But I find this plant prefers to be more on the root-bound side, so they like their roots to form and to establish. And that's what I did. I left that plant in its original pot till the ending of spring. Or could have been the very first week of summer. But that's what I did. I left it in that pot. I put that plant in a spot that gets light. This plant cannot handle low light or bright direct light. So I either put it like on my windowsill or on my table, somewhere where it was getting bright indirect light. And that's also a problem that I had in the beginning. I was not placing this plant where it would get the sun it needs. So everything I was doing in the beginning was absolutely horrible. So yeah, I let it do its thing. I let the soil dry out, and it was fine. It tolerated not being watered all the time, and it finally grew taller. There were no markings on the leaves. It's just doing really, really great. I was so happy because this is absolutely a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful plant. And then so late the last week of spring or the beginning week of summer, I potted it up into this pot. This is a 12-inch. That up there is not a 12-inch. I guess it's the next size, but it's much more wider. I think it's 12 in width and probably 6 in height. I'm not sure. So I potted it up to in here, and I was honestly nervous. Again, because this is a plant that I would say, yes, is picky. So again, I had to relearn how much water needed to be into this pot, how much more I had to wait for it to dry out, because it's obviously a bigger pot and it's plastic, so it takes soil a while to dry out. But I pretty much did the same thing. Towards the late spring, I had moved this plant outside on my balcony, so it's been outside. Since then, I don't put it in a spot where it gets bright indirect light. I'll probably have like a plant that can handle the sun in front of it, and then it'll be like right behind it. So it does get light, but it's just shaded by another plant. I let this pot dry out. So I'll go ahead and water this pot when it's less than half dry. So the most I'll wait is like when it gets around here. But what I'll do is, if I pick this pot up and it's super dry, then I'll go ahead and water it. And if not, I'll take this little stick here that I have and I'll just stick it through, because I don't have a moisture meter. And if it comes out like this with some soil and looking damp at the end, then there's moisture down there, so I'm not going to go ahead and water it. So if you just want to be on the safer side, get yourself a moisture meter. Humidity now, it's been thriving during the summer and we've had a lot of it here, but that's a problem in my home during fall and winter. I don't have that humidity that it likes, and I don't want to buy a humidifier, I'll be honest. But what I'll do different this winter, this season, cold season, compared to last one, is I will keep it in my dining room living area where it's like an open space. So if I cook, all that humidity that I will be gathering, created, probably will just spread out and do a little more something than not getting anything. But this plant does prefer humidity without a doubt. And I did forget to mention in the beginning that in the first video that I did, that you will see, is I removed the plants. Let's see if I can gently move. You see this empty, and then this one is pretty empty. I did remove the leaves that had the black bacterial fungus marking on it. It wasn't squishy, it wasn't soggy, it was just a black marking on the leaf. It didn't have no specific texture to it. I did remove it, and once you remove it, leaves don't grow back from that spot, which is kind of pretty sad. At first I thought, oh my god, this is just gonna mess up the the style of the plants, you know, it's gonna look too empty, but honestly, look how beautiful and tall they have grown, and they whole like are at different lengths, so they cover this tall empty branch. What I do like to do is rotate this plant once in a while, because as you can see, this leaf is facing more towards that side. And one way to know if your plant is getting the right amount of light is that, what's a good example? Okay, I'm gonna show you this one. Do you see this plant here? Do you see how I can fit my finger here between this leaf, the like one of the oldest leaves, and the newer leaf? This was growing. This is when I first got it and I wasn't giving it a good amount of light, right? See, I can fit my finger there. But then you go ahead here into the new growths, and I really can. If I really want to snap a leaf, you know, I can't do that. So if you're giving your plant the right amount of light, they're going to grow nicely on top of each other layer. And if you're not giving it the right amount of light, it's going to grow leggy like a vining plant, where there's gaps between each new growth point. Pretty much light, watering, pot size, and humidity does matter for this plant. So that's why I would say this is kind of like a high maintenance plant. I've thankfully never had any problems with pests in the beginning, because I was over watering it. I did have problems with gnats, but I quickly got that figured out. Something I like to do is, I'll be honest, I don't sit here and clean the leaves all the time, but when it's time for a good watering, I'll go ahead and put it in my sink, and with the hose, I will go ahead and water the top of the leaves. I'll space it out, and I'll make sure I water the branches and just give it a little rub. Yeah, and I honestly never had a problem. I hope I'm not jinxing myself now, but I love this plant. It's beautiful, it's pleasing to the eye, it kind of like relaxes me in a way. It gives off this amazing tropical vibe to it. Look at those patterns on the leaves. Everything is beautiful about this plant. But this is a plant that I would say you definitely have to learn to care for. I could be wrong, but at least for me it was. And the older leaves do tend to droop, and then they dry up, and that's just a normal part of the process. But I do love how these little leaves do grow. For example, we have younger ones. Okay, see, all the lighter greens are, and obviously the smaller ones are new growth. This plant is just growing everywhere, and I love it. I hope I can keep this beautiful growth going on through fall and winter. And as long as, okay, if it doesn't grow, as long as it just stays healthy, that's it. I don't know if I would be able to handle more markings on this, because at this point it's just absolutely beautiful. It has this tall branch right here, but it's surrounded by different lengths of leaves, trees, branches. You know, you got tall, short, tall, short, tall. Like, it's so cute. But what I was saying is, when it grows, it actually is closed. So it comes out closed like this together, and I think it's absolutely adorable. It looks like it's praying. I would say this is kind of like a prayer plant when it grows, and then it slowly opens up and separates. Absolutely beautiful. So I think I've pretty much hit everything. I've done that. It needs humidity. I think I from my experience, water one good watering thoroughly and let it dry out, but definitely not for long. They will limp if they are thirsty. I've done that once, haven't let it happen again, and I'm gonna try my best not to, but I you know, sometimes one too many times could be enough for a plant to just give up. But they did wilt for me. And also if it's getting that bright intense light, they also will limp, droop. Humidity is important. Sun is absolutely important. Indirect light, no direct, no low light. Watering is one good thorough, and let at least 3/4 of the pot dry out, in my opinion. And because that helps with just bacterial growth and insect problems. And pot size does matter. And I think that's pretty much it. If I missed anything, please comment down below. I want to say thank you guys for clicking on today's video. Thank you if you stuck all the way through. And you know what? Thank you for if you made it at any point of this video. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.